You're sitting comfortably on your couch right now, looking at your cat, about 40 centimeters long, shedding everywhere, maybe even knocking your cup off the table on purpose. You call its name. It doesn't even bother moving an ear. You think you understand this animal. But scientists discovered something strange. Humans may have misunderstood cats from the very beginning, and that mistake has lasted for 10,000 years. So what exactly did cats do to ancient humans? 10,000 years ago, humans had just learned how to grow wheat. They started storing food. For the first time, they had granaries of their own. But then something unexpected happened. The bigger the granary, the more mice there were. They stole grain, spread disease. At night, they poured into homes in groups. Humans could control fire. They could make stone tools, but they couldn't do much about these tiny creatures. And then came a new problem. During the day, it stayed far away. At night, it quietly approached human settlements. It hunted mice and left. It didn't get close to humans, and it didn't obey them. But the next day, it came back. Then the third day, the fourth day. Slowly, more and more of these animals started appearing around human communities. Scientists call this phenomenon self-domestication. But honestly, that name is a little misleading because humans didn't choose cats. Cats chose humans. Research shows that most big cats could never do this. When a tiger senses danger, it runs at around 100 meters away. For lions, it's about 50 meters. But the African wildcat was different. Its flight distance was only 10 to 15 meters. This was a calculated proximity, close enough to exploit us, but always out of reach. Slowly, they unlocked a cheat code in the natural world. Human settlements were a paradise, a sanctuary packed with endless prey, guarded by campfires that kept the real monsters away. So it made a gamble, one that would change its fate forever. No need to hunt large prey. No need to fight for territory. Just tolerate a little fear and gain a stable source of food. It was less like survival and more like a cold, terrifying investment. And it worked because 10,000 years later, humans changed dramatically. But cats barely changed at all. In 2017, scientists sequenced ancient cat DNA spanning 9,000 years. The results were shocking. Modern house cats and African wildcats share more than 95% of their genes. Dogs changed over 100 genes to adapt to humans. Cats changed only 13. And almost all of those changes were simple. Be a little less afraid. Remember who feeds you. That's it. Their hunting instincts, territorial behavior, solitary nature, all of it remained. In fact, if a house cat returns to the wild, it only takes 3 to 4 generations for its descendants to become true wildcats again. So, if cats never really changed, then who did? Maybe it wasn't the cats at all. Maybe it was the humans, the ones who first allowed them to sit beside the fire. Imagine this. An ancient human has just finished a long day of work. Beside the fire, a wildcat curls up quietly. It doesn't wag its tail. It doesn't obey commands. In fact, the moment a human gets too close, it walks away. By all logic, this is not an animal worth trusting. But strangely, more and more people begin leaving food for them, letting them stay close to the fire. 9,500 years ago, a group of ancient humans prepared to sail to an unfamiliar island. It was Cyprus, dozens of kilometers away from the mainland. Back then, this journey was almost a gamble. The boat was small. Space was extremely limited. Everything you brought had to be worth it. One extra bag of grain could mean surviving another month. One less piece of meat could mean starving through winter. But later, archaeologists discovered a grave in Cyprus. Inside, it was a human and a cat. Their skeletons lay very close together, as if they had been buried together on purpose. Back then, cats did not exist naturally on Cyprus. DNA shows they came from the Middle East mainland, which means someone brought them across the sea. Was it to catch mice? No. At that time, Cyprus had no large granaries, no agricultural system big enough to create serious mouse problems. That cat couldn't give you protein, it couldn't protect your property, it offered almost nothing for survival. Just imagine it. You're crossing a deadly sea with children who could starve at any moment. Your boat could sink at any time. And still you decide to bring a cat. Why? No one knows. But one possibility is being discussed more and more seriously by scientists. Maybe from that moment on, cats were no longer just hunters. They became companions, something with no real survival value at all. Yet something humans simply couldn't let go of. And then things became even stranger. Ancient humans took cats onto boats. Later, merchants brought them into ports. Sailors carried them across oceans. Colonists took them into the New World. Thousands of years later, cats had reached every continent except Antarctica. Humans spent 10,000 years building a global trade network. And cats did almost nothing. They simply stayed beside humans and ended up spreading to every corner of the world. Today, cats live on almost every continent. And somehow, after 10,000 years, they are still wild. Humans spend billions of dollars on cats. Cat videos dominate the internet. Hundreds of millions of people give their time, money, and emotions to an animal that has never truly obeyed us. Why? Neuroscience offers a strange answer, because the human brain was born with a weakness. Scientists call it the baby schema, A round head, big eyes, a short nose. These features automatically trigger our instinct to care. It is one of the most important programs evolution ever gave us. Because for millions of years, if parents didn't love their children, our species would have disappeared. But here's the problem. Cats look like this too. In fact, more than most animals. Even as adults, they keep their baby-like features. Huge eyes, round heads, soft faces. When ancient humans looked at a kitten beside the fire, something strange was happening inside their brains. They didn't see a predator. Instead, they saw something that needed protection. Instinct that evolved only for human babies began to shift toward another species. But the story doesn't end there. Because cats don't just look like babies. Some of the sounds they make sound surprisingly similar to a baby's cry. British scientists discovered that cats have two different kinds of purrs. One means contentment. The other appears only when they want food. Hidden inside the low purring sound is a high-pitched cry, and its frequency falls right into the range humans are most sensitive to in a baby's cry. Experiments found that even people who had never owned a cat showed an immediate response. The part of the brain responsible for caring for babies became active almost instantly. A strange sense of urgency appears. You feel like you have to respond, you have to feed it. This isn't acting cute, it's a neural hijacking that crosses species. But what really surprised scientists wasn't any of that. There is a parasite in nature called Toxoplasma gondii. Its entire life cycle can only be completed inside a cat. To get back into a cat's body, it infects mice first. Then it rewires their brains. Mice that once feared cats begin moving toward them instead. Some are even attracted to the smell of cat urine. And in the end, they willingly become prey. It sounds like psychological horror, but here is the part that should keep you awake tonight. 1/3 of the human population already carries this parasite. Science is still debating how deeply it alters human behavior, but it leaves behind a chilling question. When you look at your cat and feel that overwhelming, irrational surge of affection, are you entirely sure that choice belongs to you? Maybe you love cats simply because they're cute. But there is one thing that still doesn't make sense. Why would an animal that never tries to please you and never truly belongs to anyone keep humanity fascinated for 10,000 years? The answer may lie in something even older. Cats don't always need you. Sometimes they come to you on their own, sometimes they ignore you for days. You call them 10 times. Maybe they answer once. And strangely enough, that only makes people more addicted. Neuroscience has found that this kind of unpredictable reward works almost exactly like a slot machine. You never know when the next moment of affection will come. And because of that, every tiny response releases even more dopamine in your brain. This mechanism has a name. Intermittent reinforcement. Casinos use it, short videos use it, and cats may have been using it long before either of them existed. They won't love you all the time, and maybe that's exactly why you keep loving them more. 9,000 years ago, ancient humans gave cats a place on their boats. Today, you give cats an entire room. You buy them beds, insurance, automatic water fountains, smart litter boxes. Some people even leave their inheritance to them. But the strangest thing isn't any of that. It's the law. If a dog hurts someone, the owner is responsible. Because in human society, dogs are supposed to be controlled. But cats are different. In many places, the law assumes that cats are free to roam. They jump over fences, they wander into other people's gardens, and they keep a piece of their wild freedom. Do you see it? 10,000 years ago, ancient humans allowed cats to come close to the fire. 10,000 years later, modern humans changed the rules for them. It wasn't cats adapting to civilization. It was civilization leaving a piece of wilderness behind for cats. Ancient humans brought cats to isolated islands. We bring cats into our beds. Ancient humans sat beside the fire. Modern humans sit beside their phones. But one thing has never changed. Humans still long for companionship, still long for a life that chooses to stay close. Except today, real human relationships have become more and more expensive. They take time, they take understanding, they mean enduring arguments, enduring disappointment, even enduring goodbye. And cats won't understand your loneliness. They won't care about your failures. They simply lie there quietly, look at you once, then go back to sleep. And strangely enough, an animal that never tries to please you, an animal that doesn't even truly need you, has become the ultimate emotional anchor of our civilization. Look down at the cat by your feet right now and ask yourself one question. Across these 10,000 years, who really chose whom? So maybe the species that got domesticated was never the cat. Maybe it was us.